Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for January 31st. January 31st is the 31st day in the Gregorian calendar, with 334 days remaining to the end of the year, unless it's a leap year, and then there are 335 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is apoptosis. Apoptosis is a noun that identifies a process of programmed cell death by which cells undergo an ordered sequence of events which leads to the death of the cell, as occurs during growth and development of the organism, and it is part of a normal cell aging or response to cellular injury. This death of cells occurs as a normal and controlled part of an organism's growth and development. You could think of it really as a way that the body practices recycling. The old cells die off and the materials are recycled to build new cells. This is a relatively new word appearing in the 1970s from Greek apoptosis, falling off, from apo, which means from, and tosis, which means falling or a fall. Now, I'd like to take a moment to mention that links to my research are included in the show notes and to ask you to go ahead and click that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and share this video with others. Thanks. And with that, we're going to move on to 1606 when Guy Fawkes, that's F-A-W-K-E-S, not F-O-X. Guy Fawkes was a chief conspirator in the plot to blow up the British Parliament building. He was convicted and sentenced to be executed by hanging. Maybe he thought he could escape, I don't know, but he was climbing up to the hanging platform and he jumped off the ladder and broke his neck, died instantly. On January 31st, 1865, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, abolishing slavery in America. On January 31st, 1917, Germany unleashed its U-boats, the most sophisticated submarine in the world at the time. They'd been on a 2-year break, but now there we were in the middle of World War I, and so they were back in the water. January 31st, 1919 is the birthday of baseball great Jackie Robinson. He died in 1972 at the age of 53 due to complications of heart disease and diabetes. On January 31, 1930, 3M, the 3M company, began marketing Scotch Tape. What an indispensable product that has been. In 1943, by January 24th, the Soviets had overrun Paulus's last airfield. His position was untenable and surrender was the only hope for survival. But Hitler wouldn't hear of it. The Sixth Army will hold its positions to the last man in the last round, and it very nearly came to that. Paulus held out until January 31st, when he did finally surrender. Of more than 280,000 men under his command, half were already dead or dying, and about 35,000 had been evacuated from the front. The remaining 91,000 were hauled off to Soviet POW camps. Paulus eventually sold out to the Soviets altogether, joining the National Committee for Free Germany and urging German troops to surrender. Testifying at Nuremberg for the Soviets, he was released and spent the rest of his life in East Germany. On January 31st, 1945, Private Eddie Slovik was executed for desertion during World War II. On January 31st, 1950, President Truman announced his decision to support the development of a hydrogen bomb. This hydrogen bomb was referred to as a super bomb, theorized to be hundreds of times stronger than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan during World War II. On January 31st, 1968, Viet Cong soldiers attacked the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. On January 31st, 1971, Apollo 14 departed on a manned mission to the moon. On January 31st, 1988, Doug Williams of the Washington Redskins became the first African-American quarterback to play in a Super Bowl. He scored 4 of Washington's 5 touchdowns in an upset 42-10 victory over the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl XXII. On January 31st, 1990, the first McDonald's opened in the Soviet Union in Moscow. People were eager to line up and pay the equivalent of several days' wages for Big Macs, shakes, and French fries. And I think that's going to do it for us today. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes. Thanks for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And feel free to share if you found this interesting or entertaining. While you're here, check out my other channel, 8 Susquehanna. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Test, 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 test. So many mistakes. Where were we? Let's try something different here. All right, do that again. There's a good girl. Good girl. I don't know how all that's going to go together, or if it's even going to make it to the video. We'll just see. Probably cut all that out. That'll all be laying on the cutting room floor. So I'll just do that whole thing over. That might not make it into the video. We'll see. Changing it up.